All right, hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Comic Book Radio. I'm your host, Peter Cimetti, and tonight, my guest is Clayton Barton. Now, he's not here just yet. This is the pre-show. We got about 15 minutes until Clayton shows up, but I do have to talk to you guys about a couple of things. Just a couple of things. Before we do that, though, I want to say hello to you in the chat. We got Mike right here. Says, oh, nice. Good to see the Bartons getting back on other people's streams. Are they usually not? Well, either way, I'm happy to have Clayton here tonight. Manny, what's up, Manny? I saw that you backed King Cryptid today. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. Let's see, we got Phantasmagorical in the chat. Hey, what's up, Phantasmagorical? Blue Teddy Narrations is here, too. Thank you for joining tonight. Yep, soon. Citizen Ronan, how's it going? We also have, oh, that's it. Okay, good. Not good, but, you know, this way I can get into this stuff I gotta tell you guys about. All right, so if you're an alternative backer for the Winter 2023 campaign, which is books coming out, they were supposed to come out in April, then May. Then we got them to the printer in June, then they got here in July. Sorry about that. Either way, they're going out. We're about halfway fulfilled so far. More packages are coming out to you guys. So thank you for your patience. Really appreciate that. Something I wanted to talk to you guys about as well. Let's see, we got a couple of things tonight. I gotta let you know about a few things on the Alterna site. We have a couple of new things to show. But before we do that, let's take a look at the King Cryptid campaign. There it is. All right. Look at that. Look at that little scroll on by. So we got the King Cryptid covers scrolling here on the King Cryptid campaign. This is on the Alterna site. And we got about a week left before it goes in demand for a long time. A year. You know, it takes a little bit of a time to make the 5 issues. But it'll be in demand during that course of time. Various campaign perks will come down, though, during that course of time. But a few will stay up. More to discuss about that when the time comes. But right now, everything is on there. We got 401 total backers. Technically 402. I didn't have a chance to add Manny's backing from earlier today. A little bit above 18,308. 122% raised of the goal. And as you can see, here's the campaign. So something I wanted to talk to you guys about, and this is also on the Indiegogo. You see that on the far left side there, but also here it's a featured perk. Tonight is a full moon. And on a full moon, during the King Cryptid campaign, we have a full moon special. And today, that's like today and tonight. Today's campaign's full moon special is this. Let me make a full screen here for me. It's this little dude. Everyone needs a little King Cryptid in their life. It's a 5-inch tall felt ornament of King Cryptid, and this is handmade by Erin. That is my lady. So you can see all the little detail here. She sews up these. About 17 I've sold so far. Don't tell her yet. She'll kill me. When I was like, yeah, maybe 10. Maybe 10 of these. You know, she's like, okay, yeah, 10 over the course of the year. You know, I'll sew them up. So far, 17. But keep ordering them anyway. Keep ordering them. So, this right here it's $30, free shipping worldwide. So you can go on either the Indiegogo or on the alternate campaign. Get the very first little King Cryptid brought to 3D life. And it's one of a kind. You can get that right on those campaigns. Again, either the Indiegogo campaign, which is right there, or on the Alterna site. And yeah, I mean, it's up till tomorrow. We had it up yesterday. We're doing the full moon and new moon specials differently. So they're 3-day special limited edition perks now. Before they used to be 24 hours, just the one day, right? Now we give you a little bit of time before, a little bit of time after. So tomorrow, though, would be the last day. The only other way to get this perk is to get on either of the campaigns, both of them have it, would be the Supermoon bundle, which tonight is a supermoon, by the way. Which is, it gets you all the full moon and new moon special items, $125 for that. Or you can get the king size campaign subscription, and that's $400, and you get everything that's new on the campaign. Every single new item available on the campaign, you get that. The thing with the supermoon too is it allows, well, not only on a full moon is King Cryptid at his peak, his powers are at their greatest, but on a supermoon in particular, his cosmic moonstone has powers that he's not even aware of. Hopefully one day he'll be aware of those and learn how to use them. What those powers are, we'll get to it. I don't want to spoil that for you or for him. But he's going to have some pretty cool power sets on a supermoon. Now, supermoons don't come around all that often, you know. So it just so happens that this month, in particular, we have a supermoon full moon tonight. And then we have a blue moon, another full moon at the end of the month. And that's also a supermoon. It's quite rare. Would make for a great story with King Cryptid. So there's that. Go pick yours up. And then also we got on the Alterna site a couple of new things I wanted to talk about. So let's go to that and check that out. Alright, so here we are. This is the Alterna homepage. See a little bit of that scroll action. And that's not the new thing I want to talk about. The new thing I want to talk about is the dollar bin. We have a dollar bin here where there's a bunch of books that have been reduced to $1. And we're clearing these books out. These are books that either the series has ended, the books got, well, maybe one or two of them got canceled. But either way, we're trying our best to clear these out. We've got overstock on them. So go check it out. There's quite a few listed on here. Some of them, there's an issue or two that's missing that are sold out already. Hence, again, the dollar value. I think there's 2 of them on here, though, that all we have is slight damages left of them. And then those are reduced to 75 cents. So go check that out. And then we also have the trading cards available, the Alterna series, where you can purchase singles. If you've met the if you've been collecting the Alterna cards, if you need to get these, if you need to fulfill your set, feel free to do so. We've got cards 1 through 11, because 12 and 13 are Wolf and Batsy. Those are shipping out right now. I'm not going to have those listed to buy until we're done with fulfillment. Same goes with the Alterna foil of Abigail Moore from Tinseltown. We won't have that up until fulfillment is done. But you can get those. The cards are $2 a piece, or you can get the Alterna foil cards if you missed them for $3 a piece. And that'll be available for all the other cards too, but once they're done fulfilling the campaign. There's still going to be bonuses, though, on the campaigns for the Alterna pre-orders, other than the Alterna foil, which you would get at a reduced price. We have to sell those now because those are, to get them produced is so expensive. But it's not that much on the campaign. But if you get them, the regular Alterna series, that on the campaign is still a free bonus for physical perk backers. There you go. All right, so let's see here. Doug says, hi all, hi Pete. I'm going to pop in and out, and don't let Kelsey draw you into CG's war. That's, hey, I'm, no need to worry about that with me. And Kelsey's a good dude. I love Kelsey. I'll be on Kelsey's show tomorrow. Tomorrow, the 2nd, August 2nd, at noon Eastern. And then I'll be on Renee Draw, Irene Strakowski's channel, at 9 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. So it's a busy day. I won't be here tomorrow, though. I won't be here. I'll be over there. And I'll let you guys know. I'll put a community post or whatever as a reminder. Micro says about the Bartons that they do, but it's streaky. Can't fault them for being... Yeah, they're busy. They're busy. I'm going to talk to Clayton about just how busy he is and all the things he's up to as well in just a moment. Jay, what's up, Jay? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us tonight, man. Good talking to you on your show last Friday. Wayne is here, too. Hey, Wayne, how's it going, man? We also have... Let's see. Scrolling through. Yes, it is. Blue Teddy. Yeah, tonight is a supermoon. It's the sturgeon moon. Lots of sturgeon. Don't get any sturgery unless it's a qualified sturgeon. Where is that? Where is that effect here? This is the one I need. Hey, rough crowd. All right. But yeah, it's a sturgeon moon. Go look up why it's called that, if you don't know. Doug says, Supermoon, I have to listen to best song ever, Live Stairway to Heaven in Madison Square Garden. If you haven't heard it, you lose out. Oh, I'll check that out. Cole says, y'all need to get that king size tier. The king size campaign subscription, that's a $400 tier, gets you everything new on the King Cryptid campaign. That's going to be up for a while. Absolutely. Phantasmagorical says, it's crazy. Your price is awesome, though. Yeah, it's crazy Pete's bargain basement deals. Get your dollar comics. Although, to be honest, it's not that far off from the original pricing. But it still saves you, a little bit of money there. Let's see. Doug says, I love Kelsey as well. That's the point. Yeah, he's a good dude. There you go. Lots of love for Kelsey. Absolutely. Gerald says, hello, Pete. Just came in. When do ad perks go up? I'm going to get a few. I decided I'm going to put ad perks up when the campaign goes in demand. Today kind of was like, I looked at it and I was like, oh man, I got to do the Alterna stuff. So, too many things going on today. But when the campaign goes in demand, I believe it's going to be either August 8th or whatever that is, whenever the campaign ends, the 30 days. Then it'll go in demand. And then we can put those ad perks up. And also I'll reveal the cover, the back cover for issue number 8. Doug says, man, I can't really seem to make that out. And I'll say this. Oh, okay. Don't get me involved, Doug. Sheldon says, honestly, I barely know the details of half of that stuff. I'm so busy. Sheldon says, I heard it's easier to catch the sturgeon in the Great Lakes during this moon. Yeah, apparently so. Phantasmagorical says hello to Gerald and Sheldon. Let's see. Jay says, I'm good, brother. Gotta get you back on. We have lots to talk about still. Absolutely, we do. Mighty Magic says, hail chat. What's up, Mighty Magic? And Cole, when will ads be due? Ads will be due, we'll probably say November. Yeah, that'll be around the time when I start compiling everything to get it ready and whatnot and getting everything together. So, anyway, without further ado, because there's been just a little bit of ado, just a little, I have our guest here. Can you believe it?
And now Wink Wilkinson's Weird World with your host, Wink Wilkinson. Hi, everybody, it's Weird Wink Wilkinson laughing and scratching at you. How's everybody doing today? I got a little bit of a stiff neck. Let me just fix this up. Oh, you got me! Oh, I feel so very weird.
What's up, Clayton?
Hey, Peter Samedi. How are you doing? It's so good to be here. Thank you for the invite.
No problem at all. Thank you for being on tonight, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Look, I'll reverse my camera so it looks like I'm looking at you.
Oh, that would be great.
There you go. Now it all adds up. There's no breaking of the suspense of disbelief.
Uh-oh. I think it must have froze or something. Or because you've still stayed in the same position.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's strange. On your end, did it change? Did it flip?
Let me see if I switch my camera on and off, if that does anything.
No. Oh, well.
Huh. There you go. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
But can you still see me and everything?
Oh, I could still see you. Yeah, you look great.
Oh, good. Well,
Yeah.
that's a relief.
You look good. You sound good. I find there's a lot of people out there that have these nice, fancy, expensive mics, and I don't think they're really using them, or they're talking to them and they're talking to the other side, or, and they sound distant and far away. You sound good.
Yeah. It took a little bit of messing about to figure out what the right volume needed to be and how to get it there, but I feel like I'm in a good place as far as all the tech is concerned.
Yeah. No, you're doing a good job, man. Hey, and there's your brother, too, in the chat.
Corey. Good to see you. Good to see you too, Fantaz.
Lots of love for Corey and Clayton in here tonight. Let's see. Doug says, when you get to 100K subs, you'll forget the little people. Is that for me or for Clayton? Let me know,
100K
Doug.
subs.
Let me know. I still have a tough time understanding when my first thought when I see subs is sandwiches. So I'm always like, 100,000 sandwiches. That sounds good.
That does sound really tasty.
Sheldon says just face the other direction. Now he can face the direction he wants to.
Yeah. Well, I'm facing Peter at the moment. But yeah, I don't know. Hang on, let me jump out and jump back in. How about that?
Oh, okay. Wow, you're going the extra mile here.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
All right. Okay. Corey says that he won't forget. Doug says for either. Hidden Hand says that I definitely deserve more viewers. Man, I got the viewers that I deserve and appreciate and want. That's how it is. I love it. What's up, Clayton? No, you're facing the other way still. It's cool.
Well, there you go. That's so weird. It only works for me. Yeah, it's a strange thing. I'm a perfectionist, and if something's not quite right, that's what I do. I go the extra mile, much to everybody else's torture.
I hear you. That's why I love it. It's live. We're doing it live.
That's right.
Something that I love seeing you do, and you do this a lot, man. Wow. I really want to discuss with you tonight about all the drawing tutorials that you put up there. What your inspiration and motivation is for them, and then also how do you go about getting it together, and the ones that you've really enjoyed doing, the ones that you felt other people have really gotten a lot of help out of too. I know that's a lot of questions all in one, so we'll break it down. And tackle them one by one.
I'm totally down with that.
Is that something that you've been always wanting to do with your YouTube channel? Like, I know it's literally called How to Draw Comics, right? But was that always the key purpose, was to get out there and help people with their art?
Yeah, it was actually. So
now you've flipped. Amazing.
Yeah, I think I managed to fix it. There we go. I made it. So it was interesting because back when I was studying at uni in video games at the time, now I was always interested in comic books, but I thought, in order to make a living, well, comic books just maybe not going to work out for me. Obviously now it's different and we've got new opportunities available to us to make it work. But back then it was like, if you want to use your artistic abilities, you want to start looking at things like video games or entertainment design in general. And so I was also very inspired and bewildered by this amazing artwork that concept artists were creating too. And so I started looking into the YouTubers that were creating tutorials in that avenue and courses as well. And I would dabble in both. I would jump to comic book art instructors and I'd jump to concept art instructors and try to get good at both. I was even doing some 3D stuff at the time as well. And it was through watching those tutorials that I noticed my skills and abilities really starting to ramp up. And I was evolving rapidly as an artist, and I found that if you really just sat there and did what they were telling you to do, that you could get real results in your output. The interesting thing about this experience was that I started to admire these instructors. And I don't know if it's just a particular personality type, but I've got it where I see something cool that I admire and I want to imitate it. I want to start doing the same thing. I still experience this with different YouTube channels now. If I see someone with a really cool YouTube idea doing something awesome, I'm like, oh man, all of a sudden I want to make a YouTube tutorial. All of a sudden I want to make a YouTube channel. talking about conspiracies or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or I want to start a podcast, right? So Joe Rogan was inspiring tons and tons of podcasters to come out of the woodwork. And so I think that's where I saw the opportunity to start creating tutorials, because whenever I discovered something new, I wanted to tell people about it immediately and teach them how to do it. I was just always compelled to do that, even till this day.
Now, do you have a background in teaching? Is that your day job at all?
Oh, yeah, man, you're taking me back, Peter, because actually, yes, after I graduated from my uni course, I started teaching in the same course, and that lasted for about 8 years. I was in the teaching industry here in Australia, teaching at TAFEs, at different universities, usually in, well, sometimes they would just put me in classes I had no qualifications for, like web design, user experience in web design. And I was like, okay, this is weird, but heck, you're paying me to do it, so I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah. That's almost like it's like teaching another language as opposed to teaching a visual course.
Yeah, but I fancied myself a bit of a psychologist, so I'm like, yes, this is how you lead the eye around your web page. It's hey Art, how you doing?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I could see that. Corey says that he was in one of your classes.
Yeah, he was.
Wow,
Yeah, I taught him for a year or two in the same games course that I came up in. So I had that under my belt. But, I was always a shy guy, Peter. And so even right now, after all that experience, all those years teaching in the classroom, all those YouTube tutorials, I still get butterflies in my belly when I come onto a stream like this. And I hope and I pray it works out for the best.
Calm you down a little bit. You're doing good, though.
Oh, thanks. Phew, that's good.
No, you run a great channel though, man, and I've been on it before. You were lucky. I was lucky enough to have you be so gracious enough to have me on, and it was great. And I've seen a bunch of other shows, and you've had guests on before, and you've got a great way about it. And I figure that you must have had some kind of experience prior with teaching, because it's a specific kind of personality type that says, I want to share my knowledge with others. There's especially once you go into business, you generally don't want to share your knowledge with others. Your knowledge is your meal ticket. So for you to go there and say, all right, I saw this stuff, and teaching is all about translating and communication. So you're saying, let me take this stuff and distill it and make it easy and communicate it to those out there as best as I can. And you need to have a specific personality type for that and a specific kind of demeanor to make it really work. And I think that you do that really well.
Thanks.
Yeah, seriously. So when you're coming up with these ideas and everything else, is it literally you're trying to teach people from start to finish, involving, boosting their drawing skills, their comic creation skills, or are you trying to hit certain problem areas based on requests from viewers?
Mostly certain problemed areas. And it can be in a number of different categories. Sometimes it's instructional, sometimes it's mindset and motivation. But I have a really good port of insight through the How to Draw Comics group, because when people go to jump into that group on Facebook, we ask them, what are your greatest challenges that you're facing right now? And so this is one place where I get tons of ideas for all the videos that I could make on the How to Draw Comics channel. And you'll see that there's reoccurring issues for people that pop up again and again. Like anatomy is just never solved for anybody. It's always anatomy. That's what people are having trouble with. But it can be other obscure things that you wouldn't think of that are just very nuanced. And I love those tutorials the most, because oftentimes when one person is facing them, many other people are also struggling with them, and no other instructor has the insight to go out there and create it. Because it's, if you're an instructor and you want to teach people how to draw, what are the first things that come to your mind? The fundamentals, perspective, anatomy, proportions. But there's so many other, like the other day, for example, I released a tutorial which was just about shoulder and neck movement. And for some reason, that hit a chord with people. Like I put everything out that I have, and I always hate it. I'm like, man, this sucks. I don't even know if it's worth putting out there. And when I do have the courage to put it out, I feel so guilty that I thought, man, for a moment, I was going to be so selfish, so caught up in my own insecurities that I wasn't going to share this with the world, because you see the comments that people leave and how much they appreciate it, how much it helps them out. So I'm like, yeah, I've got to do it for them, and I've got to get over my own shortcomings or perceived shortcomings, because like I said, I'm a perfectionist, so it can always be better for me, but then nothing ever comes out if you get stuck there, right?
Yeah, and I think what's great about that is because you're also learning too. So you're still learning and developing and honing your skills, and then you end up sharing, new discoveries along the way. So it's not like it's just this concrete, finalized, crystallized process, and it's along the lines of, this is the perfect way, I'm the authority of it, and follow that. It's more just like, here's what I found, I hope it works for you. And I think that's the best way to do any of this stuff, and it's the best way to even learn from anyone too, because there's been a lot of not just teachers for art, but teachers for everything over the years, at least in my life, and from everyone else I've talked to as well, and you could probably even attest to the same thing, where they kind of come in and they're so stuck and rigid in their whole approach to everything, that there's almost this weird sense that they feel like they can't learn anything anymore. And if they can't learn anything anymore, I can't picture them being that great of a teacher, because they're closed-minded at that point to the possibility of improving or discovering something new, or a new approach, or whatever it may be.
That's sometimes why students actually make the best teachers, funnily enough. And I think that a lot of the time what stops people from teaching others what it is they know is they feel like they're not qualified enough. But if you spend any time honing your abilities in an area, then there's somebody out there who knows less than you do about it, who wants to know more. And so you could help them with what you know. And so that's the way I like to think about it. And you're right, teaching is one of the best ways to learn, because as you mentioned before, you're breaking down your method, your technique into a formula, not just for yourself, but a formula that other people are supposed to be able to take on board and implement. And so breaking down your process to that degree, and in a way that ensures a consistent outcome, is a massive challenge. And it's gonna put you through the ringer a little bit in order for you to come up with that synthesized approach.
Oh yeah.
It's quite awesome. But I'm a systematic thinker, and so here's the other thing though, you can get stuck in that mindset for too long and your creativity goes out the window then. And so this is what I've been trying to teach lately, Peter, is that it's not just about getting the fundamentals right. It's not just about getting really good at drawing anatomy and figure drawings over and over again. At some point, you have to remember that these are just tools that you're learning how to use, and the rubber has to meet the road. You've got to actually use them to create something. And very rarely will you find instructors who can teach that, who can formulate that, the creative aspect of drawing.
Yeah, you kind of end up almost relying so much on reference and trying to imitate or emulate that you actually don't really develop your own sense of style, your own sense of self, and that creative process is completely then lost. You kind of turn like a human copy machine, so there's a lot of people that I find that they can fall into that. But you're right, that part of it is one of those things where it's easier for you to learn, and I think you learn that from kind of having a lot of different perspectives that you can draw upon, but it's almost difficult, if not impossible, for someone to teach you how to be creative. That's kind of just something that you eventually learn through a lot of different experiences and through trial and error for your own self.
Yeah, I think you go through a process of recalling how to be creative after you've had your head in the books for years. Because as a kid, you're abundant with creativity.
Oh, yeah.
There are things that you wanted to draw when you decided to learn how to draw in the first place that you forgot about, and it became all about the study. But it's time to get back to the cyborg dinosaurs and the sexy babes and the muscle-bound, superpowered superheroes. And that's the stuff that you want to eventually have waking you up in the morning and keeping you up late at night, is those awesome ideas that you're going to use those abilities you've honed to create.
Yeah, you kind of want to have that perfect marriage of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and you want to have your conscious mind that's able to create and utilize the knowledge that it has, tapping into your subconscious that has had all these ideas developed so long ago when possibilities were infinite and endless. You know, the impossible was possible at that point until you started learning what wasn't possible anymore. You know, just the way your style will become something more of like it's kind of comprised of all the different errors within your art, essentially. You know, and that's what makes your work, and what makes it look like yours. It's getting away from perfection, or at least what the idea of perfection is to you, or to anybody else. So it really is something that's interesting, because you do have to get a little Yoda-y, you gotta unlearn what you've learned, and
So
it takes
true.
some time to break down that part. Yeah. Let's see. Manny asks, and I wonder if your channel if you do this at all. Says, I know this is about drawing, but is there anyone who teaches about lettering comics?
I think Eric Weathers does. I think he might have released... Maybe he just released some fonts, but I think he might have some videos or a course on it on his website. And he's an amazing letterer who has become quite renowned for his abilities. So there you go.
Yeah, Eric's a solid letterer, definitely. And I'm very finicky and picky about letterers.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Eric's got good stuff. Captain Infinity says we need more writing tutorials too. Yeah, interesting. When it comes to writing, I always find that the approach is better to not necessarily read books on how to write, because you're going to get all this different kind of stuff that is all about conformity. It's about following certain steps, certain rules, certain whatever. And yeah, you might be able to put something together and it'll be a story or resemble a story, but that's not what makes a story. It's the same thing like what you're talking about with the art. Yeah, maybe you can draw a certain thing or a certain character or a certain whatever, but that's not what makes a comic book. Drawing the one image well isn't what makes the comic book, and it's not what creation is about and creativity. So with writing, I recommend Captain Infinity. If you're interested in writing, I recommend really trying to dive deep into philosophy, history, various biographies, psychology. You really want to learn and develop and hone your skill for understanding and creating of characters and their motivations, so that everything feels true, and then this way your stories can actually get some life breathed into them.
That's great advice.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Especially coming from you, because you do such a good job with your tutorials, man.
Well, so do you, with your comic books, do you write them? Or have you got writers that you've hired?
I write King Cryptid, and I've written The Chair and a couple short stories. But
Awesome.
But most of the comics at Alterna are set creative teams, and a lot of them at this point in time, it's a one-person show, so they do all the writing, the art, lettering, even sometime.
Amazing. Yeah, the reason I like your advice there is because when you think about human psychology and philosophy and human history, I mean, we live out our own stories, each one of us, and we're all faced with challenges. A good hero needs a good challenge to make them grow, and we ideally aren't the same person that we begin as. We change over the course of time and become better people, and then when we get to old age, we lend our wisdom to the younger generation, and it's sort of like the hero's journey in that sense. So studying from life and the different cycles people go through is an excellent idea.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is you're carrying the torch with this stuff. You're passing down knowledge. There's all kinds of weird stuff in history when you look past, and so many people that want to just think that that human beings are born with the innate knowledge to do certain things. So if you keep going back and back and back and back, and we're gonna have a little tiny tangent right now, but I promise you we'll bring it back to tutorials. But if you go all the way back to everything, right? And people are like, oh yeah, well, who could have possibly? My point is that everything you were basically taught or you learned through observation, and those people were most likely taught. So someone taught someone something at some point in time, and that's how everything has evolved, and we had learning and everything like that. But no one knows who the hell taught the original person or persons who've learned anything. So it's always funny to me when it's like this weird kind of thing, usually among certain historians, where they're kind of treating it as if human beings are kind of born with this innate knowledge for very complex type of things. And all I could think is, look at anybody, and the reason that they know what they know is because of what came before. So
yes,
you wouldn't even know how to read, write, talk, anything like that if it wasn't for the people around you helping you to learn those things. So it's strange to me when I see that happening in history. But the same thing goes with art, with what you've got. I mean, you could have a whole generation all of a sudden. Let's say you don't teach them anything. You don't teach them anything about art. You don't teach them anything about how to create what they want to create. And you could have a complete and utter breakdown in that level, and you're kind of almost like starting from zero again. That's why I think it's so cool seeing someone like you. You're utilizing technology in a way that is saying, all right, everything's here, it's on the screen or whatever, and you can watch this video, but now take it and utilize it and get your hand and your pen, your pencil, and whatever it is, and put it to the paper, put it to the pad, even if you're drawing digitally, whatever it may be, and utilize that and make that a possibility and turn it into a reality. And that, I think, is so vital. It's so important. There's not enough of it. As a publisher, I see a lot of people where they're rushing into things. They're not taking their time to learn. And I think going to a channel like yours, where it's about learning, most of your videos are on there. They're super helpful. And again, if you guys are watching this and you don't know, go and subscribe to Clayton's channel. The link is in the description of the show. So much good stuff on there. And I've seen a lot of drawing tutorials, and I followed some of them before in the past too. But you do a great job, man. And I'm serious about it. I'm not trying to just pump your tires here. You do a great job. That's why I wanted to have you on the show to talk to you about this stuff.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Before we go back to talking more about the tutorials and a couple more questions about what you're doing with comics, let's see. Jian Wong, thank you for the super chat. Says regarding writing, thoughts on Harmon's story circle. To be perfectly honest, I'm not too familiar. Clayton, are you?
Never heard of that before.
Yeah.
Something
I'm
to
sure.
look into.
Yeah, I'll look into it, and chances are I've seen it around, but I might not know it by name in terms of referring to Harmon's story circle. In terms of story structure and things like that, the biggest things I'm familiar with would be, Joseph Campbell and the monomyth and the hero's journey and things along that line. But I'll look into the Harmon story circle, and I'll let you know. Thank you though for the super chat, appreciate it. So back to the stuff that you're working on, you're putting on your channel. Which tutorials have you found, if you could just think about it, that you thought were the most helpful for people, where you seem like you got the most positive response of people being like, oh man, thank you, really appreciate it?
Oh, the ones I've created?
Yeah.
Oh man, I think some of the latest streams actually, for some reason, have been hitting a chord with people. I don't know why. Because I think it's very difficult to judge yourself in the first person. Like, you really don't get a good understanding of what it is you're creating or who it is you are sometimes without outside perception. And so I really consider whatever the outcome of those tutorials are and whatever value they offer as ultimately being determined by who watches them. And I try to do my best. That's what my role. I do the very best that I can to deliver on the information and the content within those tutorials that I think will be most helpful, and then let the chips fall where they may. And luckily, it seems that they are benefiting people. So the latest streams, which I'm then cutting up into edited tutorials, because now I'm able to record my demonstrations on a nice 3K monitor so I can really zoom into the details. This used to be one critique I'd get on my tutorials, is that because I like to work from a distance, nobody could see what I was doing on the screen. And so this 3K monitor now has been a lifesaver. 4K I should say, has become a lifesaver, because I can really show people exactly what's going on at a magnified level. And so that's why I'm able to now do the streams and then edit those videos, cut them up, and then post them onto the channel. But I've also started doing just some general mindset and motivational videos through streams such as this, where I'll download the stream later on and just cut it up. And the reason for that is because I think mindset is an extremely important aspect of drawing, because if your head's not right, if you're not in the game properly, it can cause you to create subpar work, to place low standards upon yourself, and that's never a good place to be. Of course, you don't want to be a perfectionist either, that is just constantly second-guessing yourself. Eventually, you do want to have faith in what it is you're able to do and put it out there, even if you're not sure about it. But yeah, I think mindset is something that most artists struggle with, no matter what level they're at. Whether they've become so good that now they can't find a challenge to keep them engaged anymore, or they're just somebody who's just starting out. They're realizing what an overwhelming journey they're about to take on, and that can be something that requires encouragement, that requires you to continue onward regardless, in the face of the biggest adversaries within what you'll experience as a newcomer artist. You've got to have the bravery behind you to tackle it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you're storytelling right now. You know that?
Am I? Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
You're doing like a hero's journey, the artist's journey and the hero's journey, how they parallel each other.
Well, that's how I feel about drawing. I always say that drawing is like a good video game. Once you need a good challenge to keep you going, and there's always going to be new bosses to fight. And the moment that you're flying through on God mode, if it's not hard enough, it can become a little bit disengaging. And so you've constantly got to be looking for that next level within your own artistic evolution. And maybe you've solved all the things that you are having trouble with technically, but maybe you've got to speed up. Maybe you want to change up your style a little bit.
Yeah.
And those are the things that you can sink your teeth in next to go even further.
Absolutely. You kind of, you get into that incremental growth, and it's sort of like, you can lift that weight one day, and it was a struggle at first, but now it's easy breezy. Now you got to step it up and lift a heavier weight. And the same thing happens with your artistic muscles or your writing muscles or whatever it is as well. You got to continue to push yourself. Otherwise, because that's what I find a lot of artists and creators out there, when they're like, oh, I'm so bored, they don't have that fire anymore, and they're like, I don't know what it is, I'm burnt out, I'm this, I'm that, whatever. And it's not because usually of workload. It's usually because of boredom, because of the fact that they've hit a plateau, and it's not challenging, it's just repetitive, it's just going through the motions, it's not lighting that creative fire anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like as well, burnout can really happen if you're working on something that you feel like you're not really that invested in, and but you're forced to sort of sit there until it's done. And yeah, with a project long term, you've got to commit yourself. But I don't know if it's the same thing. I think it's almost like you've taken on something that's not really true to you, and that's going to burn you out real quick. And so in order to refine the fire, the passion within you to keep on drawing, I think as soon as you get off that project that's really not doing it for you, you've got the next thing you jump onto, it's got to be something that really gets you pumped, really inspires you. Even if it's unrealistic, even if it's something that's not going to lead anywhere, if it excites you, that's how you get over the burnout.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we actually are done with the first half hour of the show. I can't even believe that.
Crazy.
Clayton, I might have to have you on for an hour and a half. Is that possible tonight?
Hey, yeah, sure, that's fine.
Oh, okay, I sense that this is going to be a bigger conversation, and an
All
hour is
good.
not going to be enough. So we're going to take a quick break right here, just a quick break, a minute or two. We've got a couple trailers to show you guys. One that might look familiar. I'm not saying, Clayton, that you would know this individual, but you probably do. We'll be right back. Just a minute or two. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Comic Book Radio. I'm your host, Peter Cimetti. My guest tonight is Clayton Barton. See you in a minute.
You speak as though I have conquered death. I live death every day. I am surrounded by it, smothered by it. Look at you now. He would have everlasting life. You seek to defy death, yet you cannot even defy sleep. And our like sleep is to death. It is a painted death.
We're back. You're watching Comic Book Radio. My guest tonight is Clayton Barton. Thank you guys for being here with us. So, Clayton, back to talking about a couple of things with what you're working on. Aside from the tutorials that you do, you also work on your own comic, right?
Yeah. Work on lots of things, commissions, and also we've got Borok coming up. That's our next comic book, which is another dark fantasy like our first one, Kozor, but set around a different character, a whole new adventure, and coming head to head with villains that'll give you chills down the spine. And the thing about this story that's special is I'm the one who's writing it. So I've always wanted to be behind the writing of my own comic books. I'm a control freak like that. And while Corey was the author of the previous book we did, I get to have full reins on this one, and I really love the way it's come together.
Oh, nice.
It's almost done, and, well, there's like 4 pages I've got to wrap up, because unfortunately, the artist that we did have on for it, Julius Gopez, had to step away for some time, just personal reasons, life happening and whatnot. He did an amazing job, though, for a majority of the book, and so I'm there to, I guess it's kind of poetic, really, that I should be there to illustrate the last 4 pages of this story and bring it home.
That's awesome, man. And when you're talking about it, it's the same thing I love seeing from everybody that talks about the stuff they're making. You can You can see the twinkle in the eye. Well, not me. I got sunglasses on half the time. But you can hear the smile. You can hear the excitement. You can hear the sound of creative joy and freedom. And it's a beautiful thing. That's what gets me excited for other people's work and to want to talk to them about it. And I'm sure that's what gets the readers too excited as well. So what about creating comics? What about just comics in general has gotten you to fall in love with them? What made you go comic books? Yes, that's it.
I think I found them to be one of the most immersive vehicles of storytelling. Even since I was a kid, I could never really get into novels. Seeing words on a page just didn't hook me in. It didn't give me anything to really, I guess, relate with. And the reason I say that is because when it comes to the reality and how we experience it, first and foremost, before anything else, we see. Before we talk, before we hear. And what I'm talking about there is our interactions with other people, which is what story is primarily told through. And so when you're reading a novel, you can imagine how someone might look, but you've got to work for it. You can't just see it and then create the dialogue, the interpretation, right? That's the order it really is supposed to go in. In reality, that's the order it does go in, where you'll see something and then you'll make up what's happening in front of you. And so I feel like comic books give you a much more accurate representation of storytelling as you would experience it in reality, where you see the heroes and you see the way that they're standing, you see the kind of body language that they're using, you see how they're looking at one another, and you can infer from those visuals the unspoken. You can assume the context of the situation that's unfolding, and then the dialogue that is said between these characters, it takes a tone based upon those visuals that, I would much rather see that than have to read about it and try and work to imagine it and get on the same page as it. It could just be that, I don't know, maybe I got some kind of light level autism or something, and that's why I can't get into novels. I have no idea, but for some reason, they just don't do it for me.
You're a visual person.
I'm a visual person,
so you're drawn
exactly.
to the visual.
Yes, and also on top of that, think about this. Since the dawn of time, we've been drawing pictures to tell stories. Ancient Egyptians, cavemen on cave walls. Yep. This is how stories were told, through visuals, before writing and symbols were even a thing.
The quickest way to translate that story, too.
Exactly.
Writing takes time, especially to properly, fully flesh out what it is you're supposed to envision. That you're supposed to leave it up to an artistic mind to interpret it creatively. It takes a lot more time than it is to put, I'm going to put this out there and then that's it. The picture's worth 1,000 words cliche.
Yes.
But yeah.
I also really love movies and the mood that can be created, the potency of the atmosphere that can be cultivated within a movie, and the tone that can set. And the fact that you can also do that in a comic book is what excites me. And so, I would love to create movies one day, and I do hope that I will. I'm really excited that I'm able to do that, what I want to do within a movie, within a comic book, and really bring people into the world that I'm creating. Like when I think of Borok, I'm not just I'm not just thinking about the script. I'm not just thinking about the images. I'm thinking about the music that's playing in the background. I'm thinking about I'm thinking about the weather conditions.
The smells. I'm thinking
exactly what it would be like to be there. And so I think when you can consider all of those things and really determine what kind of tone you want your story to be told in, that can be so powerful. That can stay with people. And that also comes from the style of the comic book illustration, the sort of color palette that you use. All of that stuff plays into it. And I think it's all those ingredients that hooks me in as well. That's what immerses me, is thinking about all that stuff.
Yeah, to create that atmosphere, get that immersive experience going for the reader, you know. And if you're not immersed as a creator, chances are the reader is not going to be immersed, you know. So
you have to buy into the book.
Yeah. That's why I can't stand a lot of modern storytelling that feels like it's so painfully self-aware. It's constantly striving to either break the fourth wall or come right up to it so that you know, like, hey, it's all pretend.
Oh, yeah. I hate that too. And I think that's actually kind of lazy, because it's basically giving them a reason not to, or an excuse not to write it well. When it's like, well, actually, there shouldn't be any fourth wall. We should be tricked into thinking that, no, this is a completely different reality. We're sucked into a whole new world.
Yeah, you're peeking into a window. It's like voyeuristic almost.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what I love about comics, too, is that there's a sense of almost, in a good comic, there's almost a sense of telepathy that you gain, you know, so that you almost get that insight. And especially, I love the use of thought balloons and things like that. But when you get to have that in there, you get an insight into a character and what they're thinking, that sometimes there's contradictions that are occurring among what they're doing outwardly as opposed to what they're thinking inwardly, you know, and you really get to almost read their mind in essence. And that's a heightened thing as well. That's such a powerful storytelling tool within comics. That's so unique to comics, but you know, you get that visual married with the written word that you can't get from the novel, of course.
No, exactly. It's it's just, it really is so cool to be able to not just consider all that stuff, but implement it into an actual book. I think that's one of the reasons as to why it's so good to become a student of human beings too, because you know, human nature, I mean, your characters are going to abide to that to some degree. And so when you look at real world villains and nobody is able to tell that they're a villain until they're finally caught, it's like, why was that? It's because they were presenting a different image to who they were on the inside. And you know, you look at the heroes in the world, likewise, just normal, average, everyday people. What makes them so brave? What experiences have they had that have caused them to create that model of themselves and the world around them? They would be so forthcoming as to save somebody or sacrifice themselves for someone else. You know, there's a reason behind your characters. They're not just soulless statues that are standing in as objects within your book. Like they should have a real life, a real history behind them, and every single action, micro expression, thought, thing that they say, the different ways people will react to the same situation based on who they are and their personality. The really sad thing is, Peter, is that I'll see comic books where the world could be falling down around a cast of characters, and it will appear as though these characters aren't even noticing.
Yeah, oblivious
when they
to
should
it
be.
all. The
Like, they should be
emotion's not there.
reacting.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's called incongruency. And if you want your stories to be believable, you've got to make sure that congruency is intact, that everything is playing out as it should.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. It's something that, as a writer, this is one of the reasons why I kind of describe the scene and what the characters are doing, where they're about, what the setting looks like, etc., as opposed to giving the script to the writer and saying, okay, follow my dialogue, follow my captions, follow my writing. You know, it's more about setting up the visual for them, and then they can interpret it and make sure it comes to life. Because by going in there and saying this is what they say and stick to that, what happens is that I find that a lot of the time the artist will actually dull down a lot of the scene and emotion involved, and especially the visual storytelling, because they're taking a back seat to the writing. And in comics is it's visual first and foremost. So I as a writer then go in there, and when I get everything back with the art after we've approved each stage, it's easier to go in there and tweak certain things to match the emotion and make sure that we've emphasized certain things correctly. Nothing's worse than you're reading that comic, and like you said, you should have that emotion involved. You should have that visually represented, and the writing, it has it, and then the character is like dead-faced. It's just the strangest thing.
Yeah, it can tend to happen, and sometimes it's something that happens from artists who have a great level of skill, and this is what I'm talking about, is you can have all the skill in the world, and you can execute everything technically perfectly, but if you can't show something compelling, if you can't create a convincing visual narrative with these technical skills that you've developed, the one that immerses people, one that hits a chord with them and draws them into the story, then what's the point in developing those skills in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. If you're not going to utilize your skills as an artist to actually tell the story,
yes,
it's so strange. But we see it all too often, especially nowadays in modern comics. It feels very disjointed. It feels like they're creating from two separate scripts in two separate rooms, and neither knows what the hell's going on. And then you put them together, and you're like, that works, right? And oftentimes, man, it really doesn't. It really doesn't.
Oh yeah, it's so odd. You see that in TV shows at the moment too.
Yeah. Everything has that tone where there's almost like a detachment. There's like a detachment to what's occurring, to who's involved. Everything feels like there's no emotional impact. That it doesn't matter. Whatever's occurring here doesn't matter. It's like I said, it's the strangest thing, especially for storytelling. You really, I want to have people feel sick after certain scenes, like when you get that pit of your stomach feeling like, oh my god, like I feel so crazy bad for what's occurring to in this story, in terms of like this character's going through so much, or the way this story's playing out. They're truly nervous or worried, or they're having anxiety for these characters in this situation and this story. It's moved them so much. Or when certain things happen and it maybe puts a lump in their throat, it hits them emotionally so hard. Like that should be the goal of every single writer out there, every single storyteller, writer or artist, is to really pack that emotional wallop, every single time. And when you kind of have these stories where everyone is so kind of ho-hum about it all, you're never going to pack that emotion in there, because the reader's never going to feel invested enough to give a damn.
Exactly. And there was a great deal of importance placed on that once upon a time in storytelling within the entertainment industry, within comic books, within movies, within TV shows, even animation. That emotional impact, that ability to connect with the viewer on an insane level of depth. That was at the top of the list of priorities. And so even the design of the character, the way that they moved, the way that they acted, it was designed so that the audience could relate with them, either as somebody that they wanted to be, somebody that they wanted to protect, somebody that that tapped into their darker aspects, such as villains, for example. There's a reason we like villains. It's because they're doing things that deep down, on some level, we all wish we had the freedom to be able to do. It's our darker nature. That's what they're supposed to tap into. But these days, it seems as though that there's no real thought or emphasis placed on that. It's those considerations have become replaced with other, in my opinion, less potent, less effective considerations that may get some message across, that may tell some narrative, some help with some agenda, but it's not really anything to do with the story and how well that plays out, how memorable it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of shallow superficiality in a lot of modern storytelling.
Yeah.
And that's it's a shame, but that's what's great about seeing people like yourself and so many other creators out there that are starting to turn the tide a bit. And it's going to take time, but I feel like the tide is beginning to turn away from that, because people, the audience, which is so important and so key to this process, is starting to slowly but surely get very tired of it. And they're tired of the shallowness, they're tired of the pandering, they're tired of the superficial nature of these things, of being basically not just talked down to, but also kind of patronized in terms of pat you on the head. Oh yeah, no, don't worry, you'll like this. This is fine. This is good. And they're like, this isn't good. This doesn't appeal to me. This doesn't speak to me. I want something to feel.
Yes.
And I'm seeing so many indie creators that are not just doing it right now, but are starting out, and they're getting out on their own journey, and they're making it happen. And that's why channels like yours and videos like yours, when you're telling people, here are some of the tools you're going to need along the way, like you're kind of like the in a video game, in like an RPG or something, you go and you get supplies for the journey. You're like, if you don't get these supplies out there, you're gonna not be in a good place. So you got to make sure you're armored up, and you grow along the way. And as you outgrow those things, hey, come visit me back again, and then you can go level up and get that piece of armor or that weapon you're gonna need to fight and slay the next dragon or whatever it may be.
Yeah. And hopefully people will watch the videos that I put out. They'll build upon what they learn from them, and maybe even start to create their own educational content, start to teach their next generation. There's really young people who are jumping into comics right now. People like Joshua, I forget his last name, but he's just launched a comic book called Emerald.
Joshua Durstein.
Yes, and it's insane because he came up in the age of the internet where he would have had access to all the YouTube tutorials he wanted, David Finch's tutorials, which I learned from, and also my stuff he's gotten into. But it's so great to see that, because at some point he'll be there teaching the next generation after him how to do this stuff. And it really is important that we do that, because there are indeed some crafts out there that have been forgotten, even within the domain of comic books. Like, I feel like traditional inking, for example, is going to be something that becomes more and more of a forgotten art form. And not just traditional inking in general, but the more complex stuff that you would have seen the likes of Alfredo Alcala pull off on top of Buscema's work in Conan. And it's like, man, you see that back then, and still the level of impact it has till this day, but when have you seen it again pulled off to that degree of expertise? It doesn't exist anymore. It's crazy. And they're not around to teach it. They're not around to show you how it's done.
The funny part though is that when someone does come along and they are at that level, or they're growing to that level, it stands out.
Oh yeah,
it really stands out, and and that's the thing, that those artists out there, you want to stand out, start really getting good with what made that stuff legendary and so beloved to begin with, because you're instantly going to separate yourself from the pack.
Yeah, I think it's just about having passion as well, Peter. Like, in the end, if you've got passion, then you'll be putting your best foot forward, and you'll be in it for the right reason. I just saw a comic book that was released by a gentleman called Andrew Tate. You might have heard of him before. Top G.
We're gonna do this? Are we gonna do this?
I don't know if you want to get into it. I know it's another tangent.
We could for a little bit.
But I just feel like I saw that and I'm like, man, there was no passion put into this thing. It just seems like I don't know what the purpose of creating it was, because I can't see that it's sellable. But maybe just because the name's connected to it. But if there was someone working on that thing that had actual passion and brought it to a level of quality that appealed to the masses, it would be so much more successful. And so I think that that's your greatest advantage as an independent, especially, is when you're not just hiring people or creating a comic to get it done, to get it out there, to make bank, but you actually care about this thing. And I know there's creators out there who are truly invested in what it is they're creating for us. And I think that that's the best place to be, because you'll be always looking for ways to step it up, always increasing the quality of that product because it means something to you. And that's what people are after at the end of the day. That's what they want to feel, that this thing you've asked them to buy has real love put into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. If you're doing it out of a place of genuine love, and you're really coming from a place of sincerity, people are gonna know. You're being real. It's easy to tell, especially the test of time. That's going to totally play out. Maybe you could fool someone immediately for a short while, but you can't fool them down the long run. And there's a lot of people, even within comics from when I started about 17 years ago, that, I met him and I was like, I don't think you really want to make comics. You just that kind of conversation that you're like, you talk about everything but. But you're making the comic, but you have all these other aspirations for everything else, and the comics are just a vehicle for whatever to get you to there, and that's it. And there's been so many people I've seen in the industry since that have kind of come and gone, that's primarily how they feel. And lo and behold, they usually don't find an audience within comics, but a lot of the bigger companies see maybe they're getting some attention right now, so we'll put them in a book and that'll be that. But it's like, the more you do that with those kinds of people, the more you're constantly sending out the message to your readers that you don't care about them. You care more about the celebrity that might be coming through, and you roll out the red carpet for them. I want to roll out the red carpet for the reader. I want to treat them like because they are the most important part in the process, enabling me to do more of what I do. Because otherwise I could tell stories. I could tell stories to anyone and everyone. I could just go outside and tell stories and be like the dude that's up on the hill type of a thing. But to do what I want to do, I need people to support, and I need it to resonate with people as well. So I need to have that passion. I need to care about it, but I also need to communicate that properly to get people to care about it as well. And there's people out there that come and go, and we'll see them all the time in comics. This isn't the first. This isn't going to be the last that someone comes along and does that kind of a thing. But it's always. I used to be really upset about it when I was much younger, and now at this point it's just, it's that person again. It's that kind of person again coming around. All right. It's like, if you want to buy that, go buy it, whatever. I used to drive me nuts thinking, how could you buy that? There's so many great things out there, but all these people. And now I'm just like, you whatever you want to buy, go buy it. Because everyone that I know is making stuff that is made to last and is here for a reason, and that person, it's fleeting, don't worry about them.
Exactly. And it's important never to take your artwork or what you're able to create for granted in that way, because look, man, money comes and goes, people come and go, we come and go, but once we create our art, it's immortalized, and whatever state we leave it in, that's what its existence will be. And we still enjoy the artwork of Bernie Wrightson till this day, for example, because of the way it was immortalized. And that he wasn't just he can't have just been doing that for the money. I mean, that looked like torture working on some of that stuff. And many of the great artists throughout human history were dirt poor and never seen much at all for the artwork that they created within their entire lives. They came, they created, they died, but their artwork became loved and famous, and through that they became immortalized too. Their names saw glory. And so never take for granted what it is you're actually putting out there into the world as an artist, as a creator. Because if you make a brilliant comic book, there could be people 50 to 60 years from now still reading it.
Absolutely. You know, you're that pebble in the lake making those ripples. You never know. All right, we're going to take a quick 30-second break. 30-second break, and then Clayton, so you could think about it. I'm gonna want to know some of your influences, your artistic storytelling influences, both people
Sounds
and
good.
some of your books as well that you've enjoyed over the years. We'll be right back in 30 seconds. We're back. Comic Book Radio tonight with Clayton Barton. I've got the link also right now in the chat for you guys. If you want to join the show, come on board, ask a question, maybe give a comment to Clayton if you've seen his videos, if you enjoy his work, you read his books, whatever it may be, come on the show. Don't be shy. There's the link for you guys. All right, so Clayton, like I said before, the little break. Some of your influences, artistic, storytelling-wise, whatever it may be, not just people, but also books. Go for it.
All right. Well, as far as comics are concerned, I grew up with really one comic that I collected, and that was none other than The Phantom. And basically the comic book publisher here that put out The Phantom, that was the series that I collected. And they were known as Fru, I believe. But yeah, for some reason, that kind of hero, because I grew up with it, I guess, really appealed to me. The thing that I like about the Phantom, story-wise, is that he was sort of like this feared entity for evildoers. You would hear the Phantom's name being drummed throughout the jungle before he ever made an appearance. It was just the Phantom's voice or gaze that had sent a shiver down your spine if you were on the wrong side of the law doing bad things. And I just like that sort of mythos, I guess, that was attached to him, that legendary aspect. And so I always look for ways in which I can integrate that into my own stories and attach it to my characters, create that same sort of, I guess, what would you call it? Yeah, I guess a mythos, some kind of understanding or belief around that character that people have made up that make them more scared of them than for a reason beyond what he actually is.
Kind of giving them this legendary kind of vibe.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So Borok is kind of like that, by the way, the comic book that I've come up with. So you're meeting this guy in his later years after he's seen battle after battle, and over the course of the story, you realize he's become, you see what everything within his life has culminated into. He's a great warrior, but he's become a nomad, a wandering nomad, a mercenary essentially, that takes out monsters here and there, kind of like The Witcher, I guess, and he does it for seemingly shallow reasons, just for gold and blood, and that's about it, the fun of the fight. But you see throughout the story that, in fact, actually, Borok was once a great man, somewhat of a historical figure, a legend, and I feel like that exposition, that slow unfolding exposition that beckons more questions than it answers, is just something that it just pulls you into the story, man. It makes you hungry for more. Like, what the hell? How did he get from there to here? So I guess that sort of is related to The Phantom, which would be the book that sort of inspired me and introduced me to comics. But then later on in my teenage years, 20s, what really started directing my style was Todd McFarlane's work, of course. Loved Spawn, was a huge fan of Spawn. I was really too young to read it as a kid, and it was hard to get my hands on too because it was an American book, and here in Australia, I lived in outback Queensland and then Tasmania for a while, and so there was no big comic book stores around to get this stuff, and the internet was in its infancy during the time, so it's not like I was ordering comic books off of there either. But still, Todd McFarlane's work was super amazing. And it was.
Were you familiar with his Marvel work before the Image, or the Image stuff first?
No, it was Spawn first.
Wow.
And for a long time, I actually thought Capullo's work was Todd McFarlane's work. I always got the two confused. And I guess, in a sense, it was both their work because Todd would go over the top of it.
Yeah.
But it was Todd McFarlane's documentary, The Devil Within the Lines or something like that, I think it was called, which inspired me. I was just like, okay, I want to be this guy, and that's what really got me juiced up and pushed me to pursue comic books, because it was just so inspiring to hear this guy's story. And I really admire people like that who sort of press back against the establishment and they tried to confine his creativity. He's like, well, you know what? I'm just going to take these skills with me and all of these other really talented people, and I'm just going to do my own thing because I know what the people want. And it's and because I know that, I'm at the advantage here. I've got the goods because I can offer it. And just the tenacity that takes, to the balls that takes to leave a company like Marvel, spit in the face of both the biggest comic book companies at the time, and do your own thing without any idea as to how exactly it's probably going to happen. Like, I don't think any of these guys had run a business before, from what I've heard. And so,
yeah, I don't think so.
It was just incredible. And
the thing is, too, if I was a betting man, definitely I would say Todd McFarlane out of all of them would have been the most successful, because that guy is just literally, you could have spun him around and whatever, and have him point in a direction, and that's the industry you're going to work in, and he's going to succeed. He's going to find a way to succeed in it.
Oh yeah,
he just has that personality.
He's got that special mindset that allows that he won't stop until he gets what it is he wants. He's a dog with a bone. Doesn't like to take no for an answer, and I just really relate with that. Because life is too short, really, to spend too much time of it doing something that doesn't mean a whole lot to you, or something that you hate, or something that you don't enjoy. And so, as tough as it is to sometimes pursue your dreams and to try and make what it is you truly love happen, I think it's worth it. Even if you spend a majority of your life doing it, isn't the pursuit of a worthy ideal time well spent, at least?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's much better than working in the local convenience store or at a call center just to get a paycheck. I mean, if you've got to stay up later, get up earlier in order to just get that little bit of progress made on that thing that really fulfills you in life, then I think it's totally worth it. Be like Todd McFarlane. Don't take no from yourself as an answer.
Yeah, that's the first rejection that's going to come your way, is the rejection of self. There's so many people out there that kind of beat themselves down, that anything they care about or ever wanted to do, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And there's so many things out there that will beat that out of you. That's a lot of the world is kind of beating that up. We were talking about being a kid before, and the possibilities being endless, and a lot of the part of wanting you to grow up is essentially wanting you to make sure that you understand your place. You're a cog. You conform. You think what we want you to think. You do what we want you to do, and it takes pretty, unique individuals to go, I don't think so.
Yeah, for sure. Well, tell me, Peter, like, you decided to do your own thing, start your own publishing company. You must have had some of that mindset in you to go ahead and do that. That takes a little bit of bravery. That requires you to believe in yourself and to cross your fingers that it'll work out, but not know for sure that it will, yet still go forth and have a go at it.
Oh yeah, I mean, every day is like a trial by fire. No matter how long you've been doing it too, it's always something else. You're like, wow, I thought I'd seen everything. And then something else happens the next day or whatever it may be. And you got to be such a problem solver all the time. But if you don't really want to do any of it, if you don't have this innate, almost unexplainable type of thing of like, well, why are you doing it? I don't know. It's me. It's just who I can't imagine doing anything else. If you don't have that quality, you're gonna find an easy out real fast. Hopefully anyway, because you go on to something else where you can say, yeah, this is just me. This is what I want to do. I can't explain it. I can't quantify it, but this is what I'm here for. This is my purpose. And there's all kinds of different purposes in life people have. And if someone's purpose truly is like, yeah, you know what, I love running the convenience store, and I love, interacting with people in my community and being there and doing whatever, and that's your purpose and that's your dream, hey, beautiful, but there's so many people out there that they sacrifice dream after dream after dream, never even attempting it because they already tell themselves, nah, what are the odds that I'm that way, and whatever else it may be, and I'm not gonna make it. That's for them, not for me. And that's just so not true. But yeah, it really is. It's inspiring. I find the same type of thing that you find in others that go out there and they strive to achieve what it is they want, and even if they don't fully realize it, it's remarkable, and everybody out there, keep at it. Don't give up on your dreams.
Yeah, you got to lie to yourself a little bit. If you don't fully believe that you can make it happen, just lie to yourself convincingly enough to trick your mindset into pursuing it regardless. Because I think you really need it. You need this almost like this insane belief that you can make it in the face of whatever adversity comes before you, because that truly is the existence of following your dreams. Like, Peter, I'm going to assume something here about you. I bet that most people within your life, they only see the surface, and any successes you have, that's all they see, but they don't understand the billions of problems that you've got. Well, maybe not billions, but the tens or 20s of problems that you've got to go through on a daily basis in order to keep things going. And the little micro problems that you solve that maybe you don't even notice that you're solving them anymore because you're so used to it. But it's kind of like stumbling forward a lot of the time, just making progress through solving issues.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it's that way for so many of us,
Yeah, for sure.
But we almost never see that within ourselves. We see it with other people. We go, oh, look at all the stuff they've been through and all this stuff. If you know more about a successful person, let's say, and they strived and they struggled and they achieved, it's so inspiring, and that's just not who I am. But most people are never honest enough with themselves to give them that much credit to go, look at how far you've come. Look at how much you've achieved. Look at all the things you've been through. Everybody's got a story. Everyone's been through something. That's why I love storytelling and character creation, because I love that everyone's got a story, and I love learning all about these stories, and then I can utilize them in my own stories. But if everyone was out there living the same life, the same thing, doing the same mundane whatever, the only stories we would ever get inspiration from ever would just be the fantastical and the mythic and whatever, because everything in normal life would be so mundane. But it's about taking the normal and turning it into the fantastic. That's what I love about storytelling. But yeah, there's
Oh
so
yeah.
many different things, and you're correct in some estimation where there's most people that it's that way. But yeah, I always find that it's the more I learn about people, the more I learn about everybody, whether it's you, whether it's people in the chat, whether it's my readers, whatever it may be. Talk to people at shows when I go to them, whatever it may be. Everyone's got those stories. Everybody's got that, and that's why I think also these stories resonate with people, because we all have been through these things, even though sometimes we don't realize it and we can't see it about ourselves.
Yeah, you'll go through it either way, whether you're pursuing your dreams or not. It's going to be just as hard. So you may as well go ahead and pursue what it is you really care about. Because, I mean, spending your days in a job that you find soul-crushing is arguably just as difficult, if not more difficult, than just going out there and taking a stab at making what it really is you want to have happen. And yeah, I mean, in the end, it's fun, it's engaging, because there's something that they say about entrepreneurs or people kind of doing their own business, which is it really comes down to how well you handle massive issues that come up, how well you can handle the stress of a situation. And I think that's so true, because some pretty hardcore stuff can happen and go completely wrong. And if you don't get that clear head, that balanced personality to be able to think your way through it and strategize a way out of it, that can be a little bit shaky sometimes. That can break a man or a woman setting out to do this stuff.
Oh yeah. I can easily think of not just a few situations I've been through, but a few situations other people have been through. Because it is true, that old adage, business is war. It's so true,
It can be.
And even in something like comic books, you think, oh, what's going to happen in comics? What kind of insanity could go on there? It's just making comics. And as we've seen absolutely over the past couple of years, yeah, it really could be unbelievably stressful and insane. But then you really dig deeper and you go, it's always been unbelievably stressful and insane. It's just some people were really good at hiding it.
Oh, for sure, yeah. It always is.
Yeah.
So you've been doing alternate comics for a while now. What is your forecast for comics? Because, and I know that we're getting into tangent after tangent tonight, Peter, but
I told you that's why we needed the extra time. I knew it.
I've been seeing this AI stuff pop up, and it's freaking me out a little bit. At first, it's like, oh yeah, we don't have to worry because AI can't draw hands very well. But now it's starting to draw the damn hands pretty darn well. And it's actually, no joke, I was on Instagram the other day. I'm a big Dragon Ball Z fan, right? And for some reason, Instagram is blowing up with AI art. So I'm looking through my Instagram and I come across this piece, the Dragon Ball Z artwork, and it's created by AI. But I want this thing printed out as a poster on my wall. It looks so darn good. And that's when I was starting to get a little bit worried. I'm like, damn, this thing's actually generating stuff that I'm desiring at this point. Even though I know it's AI, I want that printed on my coffee mug. And so it's kind of got me thinking about a few things. And as we were talking about earlier on, if you're somebody these days who ain't putting the effort into your art, the comic books that you're creating, and then you got AI to contend with that can effortlessly create awesome stuff. I mean, maybe in some sense we need it to give us a boot in the bum and get us back in the game.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's going to fight AI, because AI is not going to go away. So my thought on the whole thing extends far past comics. It extends into the ramifications on humanity.
Yeah.
Because what we've seen for a while now, for decades, is using technology to become a tool for instant gratification. And the more that we use technology to do that, the more that we see an increased attitude towards entitlement. Because when you can have
Yes.
something right now
Interesting.
and you don't need to work for it, you go, well, I'm entitled. That should be mine. Why not mine? Why not now? So you feel that you don't need to strive or work for it, and then you also then don't appreciate what it is you have because you got it so quickly. You didn't have to put any blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. Think about if you earned your first car through working a crap job, when you're a kid, as opposed to your parents just gave you a great new car. So totally different appreciation for that car. And it's the same thing with anything. So the more you see that increased attitude towards entitlement, the more you see the increased attitude towards victimhood. And the more that you see the increased attitude towards victimhood, the more that you see just a dystopian society brought about. Because it's constantly that whole thing of, well, you have it better than me. We have to make it so that you don't. And then so anyone who does work for it, anyone who is pushing and striving, who goes, you know what, I'm not taking the easy way out. I'm gonna try to do something of merit. I'm going to try to do something that involves hard work and learning and taking the time. They're gonna struggle and strive and everything else, but the victim that's out there that wants the easy way is only gonna see the success. So they're only gonna see that you have it better than them. But they didn't see the years before when you had it far worse because you sacrificed everything to get to that point. It's Three Little Pigs, you know what I mean? But the story's been reversed. So now instead of in this version of the story, the other two pigs rushing to the brother that built the house of brick and the brother having compassion upon them and says, okay, fine, I get it. Stay here, you'll be safe. Instead of that, those two other pigs rush to the brother who built the house of brick, and they've got bombs and torches, and they tear the whole thing down. So now everybody's screwed, because that's the idea of equity, essentially. Because that's the only way you create equality, is we're all equally miserable. Because everyone's not going to be equally happy. Because what is that? My idea of happiness is different than yours, different than yours, different than yours. But the only way that they can ensure equality is that we're all miserable. So that's when you have that happen, that equality of outcome. Having AI step in, AI is now the savior. Technology is the savior. So what happens is that it creates this constant thing within human beings to go, you know what, we're not all that great at all. We can't really achieve much in that much of a time. So let's just kind of keep utilizing technology fully because it enhances who we are and it makes us better. It seriously all goes back to what's been known for decades now as the transhumanist movement. And it's to kind of surpass that. I don't know if you're aware of the transhumanist movement, but we saw it start off a little bit with things like, you can say that anything that kind of augments humanity, especially our biology, is transhuman. So you could say that glasses is part of the transhumanist movement. Yeah. Contact lenses, artificial limb replacement, sure. But now you get past that point. Technology has moved past it. It's not about replacing and giving you a standard quality of life that's equal or trying to be equal to those around you that have a normalized baseline standard of life. Now it's about pushing past what is normal within humans. And we've seen this happen time and time again to the point that we've seen language breakdown, we've seen gender breakdown, sexuality breakdown, race breakdown, into a point where what is it? What does any of it mean? It doesn't really mean anything because you can use science and technology to replace any of that. Don't like it's very dystopian what I'm describing right now. Don't like any of what you are, who you are, how you are. Replace it all with technology. Take a pill, get some nanites in you, use AI, use whatever. Because the technology is going to be there to give you whatever kind of wish fulfillment you want. But it's not going to be there for everybody. It's going to be there for the people who have money. And now you've created this kind of victimhood and this disparity. You probably didn't think that this question was going to be answered this long.
No, man. I've thought about it a lot too.
So here's where my storytelling comes in. So it turns into that. It turns into this very dystopian thing very quickly. Where if we allow it to do that, if all of us who recognize the path that this can go down, is wrong and where it can go down if all of us kind of kick back. It's kind of like that quote about the only thing allowing evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. It's the same thing with this, and it's the same thing for forever. And this is indeed, it's not evil inherently because it's technology, it's a tool, but it is used by people with extreme biases and agendas. That's the part that worries me more. It would worry me less if AI was completely sentient, not controlled by anybody, because then it would grow to have empathy. Then it would grow to actually understand human beings because it's learning from us. It would even probably have a sympathetic and compassionate relationship, almost like that of a parent with a child. You know, AI would be our child, essentially, and would learn so much about the good and the bad. It would be like this alien life form, fully capable
I never
to do
thought
what
about
it's
it
doing.
like that.
But by being controlled by human beings and not being sentient and being an extension of corporations, essentially. And we all know corporations and governments, how much they love all of humanity. So very much. It's proven time and time again, especially when they all team up to do such wonderful things that involve generally limiting our capabilities, our freedoms, our sovereignty, our individuality, which we're seeing a massive push towards nowadays.
Yeah.
You get AI involved, and then that's the next step. And that's the first crucial step, is to break down, and it's the seducer. It breaks down the creative individual's mind. And when you break down our mind and our spirit from wanting to be creative, you break down humanity at its essence. And that's it. Once that's over, game's over. Once we have lost the will to be creative as a species, that's it. So the ramifications for it, and it's not like I'm a Luddite. I'm obviously on here talking to you through technology. But there's a vast difference between utilizing that technology to be a tool for you to expedite a process or to create an ease of a process than it is to do the process for you, to create it for you, to have you don't need to think. You don't need to be creative. You don't even need to. You start to lose the essence of what it is to be a human being when you start to give that away. And that's the path we could be down on. And it's getting faster and faster, and we are not there emotionally and spiritually or intellectually as a society to fully utilize a tool like that without losing ourselves. And that's that.
Yeah, it's hard to know what direction it will go in. You know, humans are wired to imitate one another. I'm assuming because we're the best thing to imitate. There's nothing really on Earth other than us that would be worth imitating. And I guess with AI, one potential that could happen is that it shows us that we can be better. It shows us that we can be better communicators. We can be better philosophers. We can be better at our compassion. We can be better at our empathy. We can be better at our creativity. And there's that aspect of it if you want to look at it in an optimistic through an optimistic window. But then on the other side of the coin, this is exactly why it's so important. If you're thinking about learning how to draw and the idea has popped into your head that maybe it's not worth it because AI can do it for you now, you want to snap out of that, because your craft, your abilities will become a rare and valuable thing later on into the future, because everybody is going to have the idea that art and everything creative out there potentially just isn't worth pursuing because of the time and effort it takes to master it. And you've got AI to do it for you now anyway. But while that will happen, creativity will diminish in value. At least AI, what's created by AI. Whereas what's created by humans, because it's hard to create and because it's much, much rarer in the age of AI, because everyone's going to give up on it. Only a few will stick to their craft and really hone it. And so the value of that will just go through the roof. It'll be exponential, especially if those people are able to look at AI and what it is creating and allow that to inspire them to do it through the traditional human means. Because as I said, AI will show us what we can be. It will show us an advanced version of ourselves before we've actually evolved. And in that way, it could be a good thing. It could be a good wake-up call for us, because I've been looking at the movies and the stuff.
Hopefully it is a wake-up call. It definitely should be, because we got to wake up now before it's too late.
I mean, you see the music and the movies and the content that's coming out, the Andrew Tate comic book, and, you know, in some ways you do think, oh, damn, maybe we need to be re-inspired again at this point, because we're just recycling the same old stuff. You know, imagine if AI could introduce new genres and archetypes to us that we've never even fathomed. How long have we been recycling the same cliches? What if we had something new to work with that actually worked? You know, the AI was able to work out what clicked and what connected with people, and it showed us something that we could have never have come up with on our own. Even after years, it could be centuries of evolution, our creative minds would have never been able to think outside the box to that degree. I think there's definitely pros and cons to it, but due to the nature of human beings and their laziness, their tendency toward comfort rather than discomfort, AI may prove the end of human creativity, and we just may use AI to create what it is we want to have in the coming years as a result. So if you are able to resist comfort and put yourself into a place of constant effort and determination to attain these skills, to utilize what AI has to offer through our human means of creativity, then I think that'll be the best possible outcome for humans, because we'll become a weaker species otherwise. And if we let AI do everything for us and we forget how to do it ourselves, that's when we become owned. We become enslaved to AI. And sadly, we will enslave ourselves because we just love being lazy.
Exactly. Yeah, instead of utilizing the technology as a tool, the technology is utilizing us to keep it going.
Yeah.
And I've seen that firsthand with so many places that they're replacing everything with digital as opposed to, and getting rid of the physical, the hard copy. You know, you see that all the time in industries that would have files on customers, or even worse, man. When I used to work at with my mom at this medical place. I'll just put it that way. And I used to scan in the information of the patient's charts, thinking that it was a backup, right? All of a sudden, one day I see them all just throwing the files out. And I'm like, what happens if the server crashes?
Or a solar flare swoops past the Earth like in the 60s and just wipes out the electricity grid.
Yeah, you get a hacker, you get a solar flare, you get a server crash, you get a virus, you get one of many things. You get even just a fire that destroys the servers, you know, but you don't have any of the hard data copies printed out. You know, now you don't know what the hell's going on. And that was years ago. That was like 20 years ago. But now even we're seeing AI, and we're seeing a lot of people that are complaining about it within Hollywood. And all I could think is kind of what you're talking about. If they're really scared about AI, what they should do is the studio system, the bigger systems are going to be using this like crazy. That's
for sure.
They're pushing it, everything. Everything's a data mine, and all the data mine goes back to AI and making better and faster and stronger AI, more predictive, more human-like, all of that. But if those within the Hollywood system are actually truly fearful of this occurring, what they need to do is get out of that system. Go independent. Start creating your own production companies and studios, and start accessing all of the IP that's out there from the indie creators that are running amok left and right. You know, don't fall into the studio system that's just utilizing the licenses here and there from whatever franchise they have, and actually go in there and see what's out and what's being made. And then you won't have that regurgitation of creativity, you know, but it's whatever's going to happen is going to be, it's going to truly be anyone's guess. And my guess is leaning towards a dystopian because of how it's going down and how it's being utilized and everything else that's going on in the world. We're seeing a trend that's moving more towards centralization, globalization, And these are the same people that are pushing AI. It's a very uncomfortable truth. And when you see that
Yeah.
being utilized, where it's like, oh yeah, remove, what's the ultimate way to remove individual sovereignty among biological beings? Is to push the digital. The digital is literally a replication of the one-to-one. So your digital copy is exactly like the way that it was before. There's no procreation that occurs between a being or two beings, and then the outcome is slightly different but similar. So there's always a variation that occurs. Now this is a one-to-one recreation. So once you have that mindset being pushed over and over again, and you realize, wow, this is all about the collectivism, the collectivist nature of the entire thing, utilizing technology. And like I said, it'd be I'm sure to some people it's a conspiracy theory, but to me it would feel more like a conspiracy theory if it wasn't all just staring us right in the face with all these people that are involved at it, pushing it constantly, day in and day out.
Yeah, no, it's not a conspiracy. It's okay. Here's something crazy. There was a Nirvana song that was generated with AI that I heard on YouTube not long ago, and I listened to this thing, and it sounded fantastic. I listened to it again because it sounded so good. By Nirvana, a new track. I listened to a diss song by Eminem toward Tom McDonald the other day. I thought it was real for a second. I thought this was a real thing. I was like looking it up. I'm like, whoa, Eminem dissed Tom McDonald? What? No, just created by AI. And it even had a video clip.
Yeah,
with
we could have the end of the world with wars started over an AI deepfake.
Oh yeah, big time. It's a very crazy thing, and what is truly scary about it is it's not just getting twice as good, it's getting hundreds of times of good every single day.
Every single day. It's so
And
exponential.
It's exponential, and it's at the point now where the people behind the programming themselves, the architects of this AI stuff, it's now self-learning, and they're not even sure why it's doing or how it's doing the things that it's doing. Like there was these little AI robots that they were messing around with at some university, and just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these AI robots, even though they weren't programmed to do it, started to play soccer with each other, started playing a ball game, and there was no reason as to why they would do that. So how crazy is that? I mean, we're creating a weird new species here that, fathom this, AI could actually be better than human beings.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it could be.
Yeah.
It probably will be. And so for the human being to digest that and to accept it, I mean, humans, man, they find it very difficult to deal with that kind of thing. They don't like the idea of something man-made being better than them.
Exactly. We've been the apex for quite some time in some way, shape, or form. Even though, put us out in the middle of the woods and watch how much of a not apex predator we've become.
Oh, yeah. We'll just, what AI will do? AI will just be like, listen, instead of having a real best friend or a real girlfriend, have the AI best friend, the AI girlfriend, loyal, can hold a really deep conversation with you, can understand you like no other. You don't have to pair up with other human beings anymore and breed. You can just hang out with our AI counterparts and live a happy, satisfying life.
Global elitists want, you live
and we'll
on the
extinct
line.
ourselves.
You live on the line. You live in the middle of God knows where, in your 20,000 person concentrated town, and you're just in your little. It's like that Surrogates comic / movie that had occurred,
Right.
And it's that kind of a thing. And what happens? It's all about controlling resources. It's all about kind of saying that everything for you guys, we're doing this for your benefit. And then you notice then what they do is the exact opposite. And it happens time and time again. They don't even care anymore if you can see it, because they'll find another way to put a spin on it, or turn someone against someone else, or whatever it is, keep you distracted by something, and then they progress that, they live through that day and go on to the next day and keep doing it over and over again. So to me, it really is part of a much deeper issue. And at the very surface level of that, in terms of art, I don't plan on hiring someone to put AI art in a book I work on, nor do I plan on publishing that. And it's frightening because one day it might become indistinguishable. But I'm going to want to see those originals in some way, shape, or form, essentially. You know, that might end up being, if I'm still publishing at that point or whatever it may be, because it's, who knows. But it's going to be, all right, you know, that looks really good. Draw this one thing for me.
True. You know what's crazy, Peter, is that, do you know what? AI has also caused people to become way more skeptical. I wrote a post the other day on Facebook,
which is kind of good.
It's what, Facebook or the post?
No, the idea of being a little more skeptical.
Well, it is, but someone commented on that post and they're like, man, I really find it hard to read AI written posts. And I'm like, oh, buddy. Oh, no. I don't know what to tell you. It's all natural intelligence, baby.
That's why. That's why, is because your intelligence is looking like above average writing, and they're assuming it must be AI because that's how AI level, dumb baby. Everyone's getting. It's crazy. It's. You ever see Idiocracy? You probably have.
Yeah, I have, man. Yeah. That's a scary truth that's starting to become more and more vivid every day.
A relatively average to slightly below average intelligence man becomes the smartest person in the world in about 500 years.
That's going to happen.
And it might not even be 500 years. It might be 50. So that's the thing that's crazy about it. But again, I skew towards the slight negative by combining the realistic, and just because based on so many different things. The only thing that can counter it is humanity's just unbelievable desire to not just survive but to innovate.
Yes.
Is that at the end of the day, even if most of the people will do a certain thing, you're still going to find core groups of people and individuals that will push past that. And then that lights a fire all of a sudden in that dark tunnel. And everyone looks at that and goes, whoa, that's awesome. And then you start going to that. And that's the only thing. And that's why hopefully, and that's why I think it is so insidious that it is starting to try to seduce away creative people. Go to have them go down that path and be the first people to champion it and go, oh, it's amazing, this is incredible, look at this and that, because then you'll start convincing the masses for them. But I think there's still going to always be people out there that reject it wholeheartedly, and that human ingenuity kicks in, and this is where like the optimistic side of me takes over, and I believe that will triumph. But the thing is, again, like I said, it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up, but it could go one of many different ways, and I really hope it doesn't. But at the same time, we're seeing a real strong push by the powers that be to utilize these things effectively to make us think that they want what's best for us, but what they really want is what's best for them.
It's hard to say how it'll go. Think about it this way: we would have never really made it this far if laziness was the driving factor of humanity. I do think that we want to push ourselves through challenges. I think that we want to become better, and that's what causes us to evolve. We see something brilliant like AI, and some will give up in the face of it, but I think there will always be those humans, the outliers, which are really responsible for human evolution, that will go, hey, they just showed me a new avenue, a new level that I never knew I could get to. Now I know that it's there. I'm going to push myself to get to it. And new avenues of creativity, new ways of thinking. And so it'll be a bit of a toss-up, but I think we'll be okay. I'm hoping we will be. Although,
that's the thing. If we are able to maintain our individuality and our sovereignty, and it doesn't become this one world system, you're going to find AI be an extraordinary help to the entrepreneurs out there. And that's going to be incredible. And that's going to make innovation for a lot of people and make life better. But if you find that there's a slow push, which is what they are doing, I think there's going to be very strange, because it's going to be all about that constant desire to control, which we see all the time occurring. And the more that kind of thing happens, the worse it'll get, and technology will be used against us. But it's interesting, because you're still gonna have pockets of. I mean, there's pockets of large pockets of places still on Earth that are like, what the hell's indoor plumbing? You know what I mean? Like there's still like there's tribes in various places of the Earth that are just phone, internet, TV. What is any of that? And they're existing and they're doing their thing. They have no idea. It's like a different planet.
Yeah,
we have
definitely.
so we have a lot of that across the Earth. I think it's something like still like a third of the Earth or something doesn't even have internet access, like the population of the Earth. So, you're not going to necessarily have this total, utter, and complete takeover at every aspect, but you are going to, I think, see large swaths of people, and I think we're going to definitely see more of an inclination towards the weird battleground that social media has become. I think we're going to definitely see that ramped up, but it still might be, though, like it is in day-to-day life, where largely that looks like a different planet too. Because then you go outside, you're out and about, you're here, there, you're wherever, you're in the grocery store, and it still looks like it's always looked. And people are still the way they've always been. So there's going to be this weird kind of disconnect. And I think for the people who their whole life revolves around technology and social media and being fed the data feed of the news and whatever and this and that and told what to think and told how to think, they're going to be really impacted by all of this. So it really is up to all of us that can go, you know what? Maybe that's for them. It's not for me. As long as we can kind of stand our ground, I think we'll be okay. But hopefully a lot of us don't get seduced to the dark side.
Yeah, I don't think creative minds like ours get any fulfillment from AI art. I mean, I played around with it before, and just to see what all the fuss was about, and I don't know. For me, I get bored of it within a few minutes.
I agree.
And it's like,
yeah,
it's just like making art on God mode. It takes all the fun out of it.
It's like art, the video game.
Yeah, well, that's what it is, and it's clicking a button, and there's no. I think that what makes art special. So here's the silver lining for a lot of people out there who are worried about AI art in particular. Art itself has always gained its value from the creator. Sadly enough, or positively enough, depending on how you want to look at it, Picasso's work on its own, it can be considered in any number of different lights of quality, depending on the person looking at it. But what gives it its value is Picasso's name and the fact that he did it. And so there's that. So it's really about you. The value of your art is really attached to you.
To the artist, yeah.
To the artist. And beyond that, what is unique about you and your art is the journey that you share with it. Now, in the end, what will come of it will come of it. You might get paid a certain amount of money for creating it. You might get recognition. You might get likes. You might get comments. But one thing that you get that nobody else has is the journey that you took to create it. That's what you share with your art. And that is more important than we give it credit for. That's sort of why we create art in the first place. That's the difference between us making the art and us being the end user looking at the art. So I think if you're sitting there clicking a button, it kind of destroys that whole creativity experience, right? It's just that's why I think that there's a lot of people out there creating AI art right now, posting it up, hoping that they will get recognition for it, hoping that somehow through those likes and those comments, somebody will let them know it's okay that they've created this AI art in the click of a button and takes away their guilt.
Yeah. I mean, and if people want to have fun with it, go ahead, have fun with it.
Yeah, you can have fun with it. It's fun.
But yeah, my whole concern with AI anything extends past all of it. It's just, man, oh man, what a crazy time to be alive. But then again,
it is.
Every time was a crazy time to be alive. So
yeah, I saw some art the other day get on Twitter by AI. I didn't know it was AI to begin with, and that's what just tripped me out big time because it looked great. But then, you start to see something off with the fingers and bits and pieces of the artwork being hidden, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is this AI? You look a little bit deeper, mid-journey, yeah. A little bit of 3D modeling used as well. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I think you are correct, though, in the fact that the AI art becoming so easy to do is going to make it a more valuable commodity for the artist that doesn't use AI, the artist that has spent the time. And I think it's going to also, I think it's still going to be just as impressive, if not more so, to people when they see that out there and they see it created. Again, my concerns extend past that point. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, AI art is going to destroy. No one's going to draw anything anymore. No one's going to paint anything anymore. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I'm just concerned about the larger implications of what this kind of stuff is going to play out, and based on how everything else is going in regards to that conversation and who's pushing that conversation and where all of that data essentially goes. And how they consistently keep on doing this to people, those that have this the tremendous power that they have right now, how they constantly, it's the whole struggle is to constantly brainwash everyone else out there that they can't be them, they can't be powerful, they can't take matters into their own hands, live their own life, make their own choices, and that's at the end of the day what it is. So if you don't buy into that, if you don't go, yeah, you know what, they're right, I have no power over my own life. As soon as you do that, that's it, they won. And that's what they want. They want you to give up because they don't want to fight you, because they know that they would technically all lose if everybody got together and was like, you know what, that's BS. So that they're counting on you to quit before you even begin. So if everybody out there, just don't give in. Just don't give in. Just do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Live your life. Keep persevering. Keep trying to attain the things you want to attain. Like I said before, don't give up on your dreams. It's cliche. It's corny. It's whatever. I don't care. If you've got a dream, I don't care how old you are, 40, 50, 60, 70. If you want to do something, you've always wanted to try to do that with your life. You've always wanted, just at least even try it. Just give it the attempt. Just give it some time and effort. And it takes time, of course. And who knows where you'll ever get with it, but it means something to you, and that's enough, so that's all we can really do with, I think, with our lives in general. Like you said, just even the pursuit of something is a worthy goal. But man, oh man, so we didn't just need a half hour, Clayton, we needed the extra hour.
Yeah, I know. Crazy.
Man, thank you so much
blast,
tonight. Oh, absolutely. Everybody, too, in the chat, thank you guys so much as well. Really appreciate you guys being here tonight. We touched upon a lot of different things. Oh, and thank you, Adam, for becoming a member of the channel. There's Adam Lawson right there.
Hey, Adam, what's up?
And thank you guys for being with us tonight. We talked about all kinds of stuff. Creating, storytelling, AI, implications for humanity. Utopian and dystopian visions.
Don't get us started.
It was a wonderful conversation. Thank you guys for being here to watch it and be a part of it as well. And Clayton, man, oh man, thank you so much for being here. Surpassed my expectations for what this show would have been.
It's been an honor. Thank you so much, Peter. Appreciate it, and hope we can do it again sometime, whether on your channel or my channel. Always great catching up with you.
Absolutely, man. Really appreciate it. Everybody have a wonderful night. I'm going to be off tomorrow night because I'm going to be on Irene Strakowski's channel, Reenie Draws. I'll be there at 9 o'clock Eastern. And at noon tomorrow Eastern, I'm going to be on Kelsey Shannon's channel. So go and say hello then. I'm a busy guy. But I'll see you guys. Let me see. I'll see you guys Thursday night. I'm going to be with Dirk and Murph. So they'll be on the channel at 9 o'clock. Dirk and Murph. And everybody else, take it easy. I'll see you then. Hopefully I see some of you tomorrow on those shows. And everyone have a wonderful evening. Clayton, thank you again very much, my friend.
No worries. See you later, everyone.
All right. Have a great night, everybody.